My name is Alex Harper, and 2 years before that wedding, my world ended in a lawyer's office. Rachel, my wife of 8 years, slid the divorce papers across the table like she was handing me a coffee receipt. "We grew apart, Alex," she said, eyes already on her phone. "I need more than this quiet life." She was a rising star in corporate law. I was the architect who loved building homes for other people's families. We had no kids. Rachel never wanted them. And when she left, she took half our savings, the dog, and every photo from our honeymoon. I was 35, hollowed out, and convinced love was a lie I'd never fall for again. Then came the call that changed everything. It was 2:17 a.m. when my phone lit up with Emily's name. Rachel's younger sister. The one who used to tease me mercilessly at family dinners. The one who brought me soup when I had pneumonia and Rachel was on a business trip in Tokyo. Emily's voice was raw, broken. "Alex, it's Noah. He's in the hospital. Leukemia. Stage 4. They say he needs a bone marrow transplant and months of chemo that costs more than I'll ever make. My insurance is garbage. His deadbeat father disappeared years ago and is fighting for custody just to spite me. The doctors say if we don't start treatment in the next 72 hours, he won't make it to Christmas." She sobbed so hard I could feel it through the phone. "You're a match, Alex. The registry said you're a perfect donor. But I can't ask you to give a kidney, no bone marrow, unless there's a way to make him your legal dependent. Your company insurance would cover everything. The experimental treatment in Switzerland. The rehab. Everything." I sat in the dark of my empty apartment, staring at the ceiling I'd designed myself. Noah. 7 years old. The kid who called me Uncle Alex, even after the divorce, who once drew me a crayon picture of a house with 3 stick figures inside, me, Rachel, and him, because he said we were his favorite family. I remembered holding him at Rachel's wedding to me, his tiny hand in mine. I remembered Emily sneaking him extra dessert when Rachel wasn't looking. And suddenly none of the anger I carried toward Rachel mattered. A child was dying. I drove to the hospital at dawn. Emily looked like she hadn't slept in weeks, hollow cheeks, hair in a messy ponytail, eyes swollen, but still that same fierce blue I'd known for 15 years. Noah was tiny under the sheets, tubes everywhere, but when he saw me, he smiled a gap-toothed grin. "Uncle Alex, you came." I sat on the edge of his bed and promised him the moon. Then I took Emily into the hallway and said the words that would rewrite both our lives. "Marry me." She stared like I'd lost my mind. "Alex, we're not. I mean you and Rachel. This isn't about Rachel. This is about Noah. My insurance covers spouses and stepchildren instantly. I'll adopt him legally the same day. I'll donate the marrow. I'll pay for the flights, the apartment in Switzerland, whatever it takes. It'll be a paper marriage, Emily. In name only. 6 months, maybe a year, until he's stable. Then we quietly divorce, and you keep the coverage through Cobra or whatever. No strings. No expectations." Tears streamed down her face. "Why would you do this for us? After everything Rachel put you through? Because he's family. And family isn't blood. It's who shows up when the world falls apart." The next weeks were a blur of courtrooms, doctors, and whispered plans. Rachel found out within 48 hours and exploded. She stormed into my office screaming that I was trying to steal her sister and ruin her reputation. She even threatened to fight the adoption, claiming Noah belonged with his real family, meaning her side, not mine. Emily's ex showed up drunk at the hospital demanding money to sign away rights. I paid him off just to make him disappear. Every night I sat by Noah's bed reading Harry Potter, while Emily curled up in the chair opposite me, our hands sometimes brushing by accident. We didn't talk about feelings. We talked about chemo cycles, about Noah's favorite color, still blue, about how he wanted a dog after he got better. We laughed when he called the nurse Madame Pomfrey. We cried when his fever spiked to 104. The wedding was small, rushed, and heartbreakingly beautiful. Just us, a judge, Noah in a wheelchair with oxygen tubes, and 2 witnesses from the hospital staff. Emily wore a simple white dress she'd borrowed from a friend. I wore the same suit I'd worn to bury my father years earlier. When the judge asked if I took her as my wife, my voice cracked. I do. When I kissed her forehead instead of her lips, because we'd agreed on boundaries, something inside my chest shifted. It wasn't romance. It was deeper. It was purpose. We flew to Switzerland the next week. The transplant went perfectly. My marrow was now fighting inside Noah's body. But the complications started almost immediately. Rejection episodes. Infections. Nights when Emily and I took turns sleeping on the pull-out couch in his hospital room, whispering fears we'd never said out loud. What if I lose him? She asked once at 3 a.m., her head on my shoulder. Then I'll be here to help you carry it, I answered. And I meant every word. 6 months passed like a fever dream. Noah's hair grew back curly and wild. He started walking again, then running down hospital hallways chasing nurses. The Swiss doctors called him their miracle boy. Emily and I fell into a rhythm that felt dangerously like real life, cooking pasta in the tiny apartment, arguing over who got the last slice of chocolate cake, watching cartoons until Noah fell asleep between us. We still called it a paper marriage. We still slept in separate rooms. But late one night, after a particularly terrifying scare where Noah coded and they had to revive him, Emily broke. We were on the balcony overlooking the Alps, city lights twinkling below. She was shaking. I can't do this anymore, Alex. Pretending this is just for Noah. Because every time you hold my son, every time you stay up all night reading to him, I see the man I always wished my sister had appreciated. The man I've quietly loved since I was 20 and watched you marry her instead. Her voice broke. I fell for you years ago, Alex. At family barbecues when you'd fix my car without being asked. When you defended me against my dad's criticism. I never said anything because you were hers. But now you're mine on paper, and my heart doesn't know how to stay quiet anymore. I stood there stunned. The mountains felt like they were closing in. All those years, I thought Emily was just the funny little sister-in-law. All those times she'd slip me extra hugs at holidays. The soup. The quiet support. The way she never once sided with Rachel during our fights. It hit me like lightning. I had been blind. I never expected this, I whispered. I thought I was saving Noah. I didn't know I was saving myself too. That night we crossed the line we'd drawn. Not out of obligation. Out of everything we'd survived together. We kissed like people who had waited a lifetime, and for the first time since the divorce, I felt whole. Rachel showed up in Switzerland 2 weeks later. She'd flown across the world after seeing Noah's recovery photos on Emily's private Instagram. She stood in our living room, perfectly dressed, eyes flashing. This was supposed to be temporary, Alex. You're using my sister. Using my nephew. But when she saw Noah, strong, laughing, calling me Dad for the first time, something in her cracked. For the first time in years, Rachel cried real tears. I was wrong, she admitted in a small voice. I left you because I was scared of being ordinary. But you built an extraordinary family without me. We didn't fight. We talked. And in the strangest twist of all, Rachel became an aunt who actually showed up. She helped with legal paperwork, so my adoption of Noah became permanent. She even apologized to Emily, sister to sister, for years of taking her for granted. 9 months after our wedding, we stood on the same balcony again. Noah was chasing butterflies in the garden below, healthy and loud in hours. Emily leaned into me, her hand over mine. "I married you to save my son," she said softly. "But you saved all of us." We never divorced. The paper marriage became the realest thing either of us had ever known. We moved back home, built the house Noah had drawn years ago, this time with 4 stick figures and a dog. Rachel comes for Sunday dinners. The ex is long gone. And every night when I tuck Noah in, he whispers, "Thanks for choosing us, Dad." If you're still watching, here's what I want you to take with you. Sometimes the hardest choices, marrying someone for all the wrong reasons, lead you to the most beautiful love you'll ever know. Family isn't perfect. It's messy, painful, and full of second chances. But when you show up for a child who needs you, when you open your heart even when it's broken, life has a way of giving you back more than you ever gave. I went from a lonely divorced man to a husband and father who finally understands what home really means. Noah is 10 now. He just started soccer. Emily and I are expecting a little girl in the fall. And every single day I wake up grateful for the day I said yes to the sister I never saw coming. If this story touched you, do one thing for me: reach out to someone in your life who needs saving. You might just save yourself too. Thanks for staying till the end. I'll see you in the next chapter of our lives.